Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing another edition of recent reads. So basically I'm just going to be going over some books that I've read recently and my thoughts on them. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So the first book I have is To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. I have not seen the Netflix movie yet, so I read this book in anticipation to watch the movie. Maybe it's because of all the hype that surrounded the book. However, I wasn't blown away. So this book essentially follows Laura Jean, and she has like this thing of love letters. So she has like a treasure box that she has that her mother gave her. Her mother unfortunately passed away, but she has all these love letters in there, and then by accident, the love letters get sent out to the people that were never supposed to read them. She writes them as like a way to get over the love that she has for these people, but they get sent out to all of the boys that she's loved before. So it kind of turns into this mess because one of the letters went to her sister's boyfriend, one of the letters went to Peter Kavinsky, the most popular boy in school. One of the letters went to, oh God, I don't even remember, a guy who's now gay. It turns into this whole thing. And so there's a fake dating plot that follows, which isn't really my trope. It's not something I'm usually into. So, and then it's just a whole mess, basically. It's a whole mess. And on top of that, Laura Jean's sister has moved away to go to college, I think in another country, actually. And so Laura Jean is left with her little sister and her single father, and she's supposed to be the leader of the household, and it's a lot. There's a lot going on throughout the story. I wasn't that big of a fan of Laura Jean. I found her to be annoying at times. I found her older sister to be so annoying. I found her younger sister to be annoying. Like, the whole family just wasn't a fan. And for anybody that knows me, family dynamics and stories are so important to me. And so it kind of threw me off that I didn't like any members of this. I gave the book 3 out of 5 stars. I thought the beginning was super slow. I had no idea where the book was going. I was kind of bored. I kind of wanted to give up. But I wanted to see the movie, so I powered through the beginning. It started to pick up towards the middle, but I wasn't into the relationship, so it was just kind of boring for me. I didn't like Josh. Wasn't a huge fan of Peter. I grew to like Peter more towards the end of the book, but overall, I just wasn't really that impressed, I guess. And, yeah, so it was kind of a disappointment for me because I was really excited to read it and watch the movie. I'm still gonna finish the series. So during my reading rush TBR, I said I'd be reading the second book, and then eventually I'll pick up the third book. But yeah, overall 3 out of 5 stars for me. So essentially this story follows Zac and Mia. They're both in the cancer ward at the hospital. Zac has just had a bone marrow transplant and he has to be isolated for a certain number of days, so he is nearing the end of his isolation, whereas Mia has just been diagnosed and is starting chemotherapy, and she is not about it. Like, she needs to go back to school, her school dance is coming up, she's got popularity to uphold, she can't have cancer right now, it's just not working out for her. So it kind of follows their 2 different stories and how they intertwine, and then how they both move forward with their diagnosis and their prognosis. So the next book I read is Zac and Mia by A.J. Betts. This has been on my TBR for a couple of years now. It was on my books to read in 2019, and so I finally picked it up and powered through it. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars as well, so we did not start off this recent reads very well. For a number of reasons. So as we talked about with the last book, family dynamics are so important to me. And so Zac had, like, it was we were told he had this amazing family, but we weren't shown the family very much. Like his mother, definitely. But I want to see like more of his family dynamic that's so important to him. And I just felt like we were told about it a lot, but we were never really shown it. The other thing is that Mia is a piece of work. And I know like she's supposed to be, but it got to be like too much. Like Zac kept forgiving her over and over. Mia kept doing stupid stuff over and over. And Mia's mom is a whole other ball game. Like so confused. So yeah, was not a fan of Mia, and obviously Zac and Mia, like we need to be on the same page here. So that was a definite bummer. The other part I really didn't like is the romance between Zac and Mia. Again, I thought Zac was way too forgiving, and I thought Mia took advantage of him way too often. And then there were parts that were just unrealistic. They didn't make sense. But I gave it 3 stars because I really did love Zac. Even though he's way too forgiving, he is such a sweetheart. He's always trying to find the best in the situation. He is a trooper, he's a fighter, and I just thought he was adorable. And if I could see him, like, meet the Zac, I would just show him all the love that Mia doesn't. So the next book I read was Dragonhearts by Nikita, Gill, Amanda Lovelace, and Trista Matier. As you may know, if you've been around on my channel, Amanda Lovelace is one of my all-time favorite poets and writers. I am in love with her work, so I picked this book up as expecting to fall in love with it, as I always have, and I did not. Maybe I didn't really understand the setup of the poems in here. I didn't get what the main idea of the story was supposed to be about. I didn't think the 3 poets meshed together very well, and I didn't like the style of a lot of the poetry in here. So I just really did not enjoy my read with this, which is so disappointing because I love Amanda Lovelace, and I've pre-ordered Trista Matier's next work. I've never read any of Nikita Gill, but I had really high hopes going in, and so I just kind of felt disappointed. And I especially picked up this book because the previous 2 reads have been disappointing, so I felt like I needed something quick and a pick-me-up, and I just didn't get it from Dragonhearts. And I mean, there isn't much more for me to say. It's a poetry collection, but it just wasn't for me. So the next book we have is possibly my first and only 5-star read of the year, and I will not stop talking about this book, and that is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. This is her debut novel, and I loved it so much. So we follow the story of both Alex, who is the son of the President of the United States, and Henry, who is part of the royal family over in England. So these 2 have had a rivalry going on for as long as they can remember, since they were preteens and they met at the Rio Olympics. Henry was pretty rude to Alex, and Alex has had it out for Henry ever since. So when it's time for the royal wedding and Alex has to show face, he makes it very known to Henry that this is how he feels about Henry, and they get into sort of a accidental fight, kind of. Like, they don't mean to, but it happens, and they ruin the tens of thousands of dollars of cake, because you know how the royal weddings are. Very expensive. That's how they are. So it blows up in the media. UK and US relations start to fall apart, and so they have to do damage control and quick. So Henry and Alex are forced to spend time together in order to fix the situation, make it seem to the media as though they're best friends, and this was just a best friend fight. It was nothing serious, and little do we know that there may actually be something deeper here. I loved this story so much. I especially love Henry. Henry is my favorite character that I've read this year. He's my favorite person. I love him so much. But of course I love Alex too. And I love how the relationship shifted throughout the book. I don't like insta-love plot stories. I like to learn how the characters come together, and I got that with this story. And then being a writer, I'm usually good at predicting where the climax hits, where the down point hits, and where it comes back up. There's specific words for that, but I don't care what they are. It's just this. So after the climax hit, I was like, oh, I know where this is going. This is so predictable. I know what's going to happen. And then it didn't. Like, I was the twist at the 3/4 into the book. I did not predict that. I did not see that coming. And I love Casey McQuiston for it. I hate when I can predict the arch. So I'm so happy that it didn't go the way that I thought it would. And I just loved every aspect of this story, but I think that especially pushed me over the 5-star mark. And if I could give it more than 5 stars, I would. It can have all the stars. It can have everything. I just loved this story so much, and I want everyone to read it. So if you haven't yet, please pick up a copy of Red, White, and Royal Blue and fangirl with me, and we can talk about all the things. And the final book I read, I don't have with me right now, but that is Eleanor, Oliphant by Gail Honeyman. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. And that really surprised me because in hindsight, nothing happened. Nothing happened in this story. We follow Eleanor through her daily life and her struggles, and I just loved it. For me, I love YA, or I don't know if this is YA, it might be adult, but I love contemporary where romance is a subplot or not the plot at all. Where we just get to follow character growth and development. I love that. And so that is what Eleanor Oliphant was. We just followed Eleanor through her quest to find who she is, to figure out, she's been through a very severe trauma, so to work past that, figure out who she is now, what she's gone through, and how it can help her be the person that she wants to be. She actually makes a friend along the way, and she's never had a real friend before, and I just loved it. I loved getting to know. I love the anxiety representation in this. I loved the plot twist. Again, I did not predict that at all. I did not see that coming. It was crazy. And I actually messaged Gavin about this because he said it was one of his favorite reads of 2018. So I was like, that plot twist though, oh my gosh. And I loved that I didn't predict it, the direction that it took the story in. And yeah, I mean, for those who just love to read a book about day-to-day people, I would definitely recommend. And so those are my 5 most recent reads. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Right now I'm filming a reading. I'm going through my Reading Rush TBR for the Reading Rush Challenge. So at the end of that, I will also be doing a reading wrap up and kind of talking about all the books that I've read this week. So far I've read 1 and I'm in the middle of 2, but more on that in next week's vlog. So I hope to see you guys in my next video. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. Bye. In case you're wondering, this is where I keep my notes. Fun fact, it's the Magical Monthly Reading Planner by Owl Crate. So whenever I finish a book, here's Eleanor Oliphant. You see that? I give it a star, write down some short notes about it so that I remember why I gave it that star rating. I really like it. Surprise! I gave the book 3 out of 5 stars. And I just felt like fail. He always has no, that's not true.